On the last episode of CAS Ball Z, we received less than 700 views, and that made MJ really sad. Meanwhile, somewhere in the depths of East City, MJ works on his new video that will get more than 10,000 suns worth of views. Never before in the history of the world has any fictional character been more feared, more lied about, more twisted, more denounced, more censored and flat out memed than the Cosmic Armor Superman. And it only has me to thank for it. Spending the last 10 years online advocating for it and trying to get just about 5 people in the entire world to actually read the comic. I managed just 3, okay? Just 3. It's a little bit short of my decades-long quota, alright? Don't push me. But take this guy, for example, who said I'm really likable and enjoyable. And oh man, thanks. My mom says that's true, so it really must be. Tell me about my eyes next time. And then he says that I should just stop dropping toxic CAS scales so that people will like me more. Excuse me? Excuse me? Are you looking at me? Did you rub my lamp? Did you wake me up? Did you bring me here? And all of a sudden you're walking out on me? I don't think so. Not right now. You're getting your CAS scale. So soon! Emergency exits are here, anywhere. The cope is infinite when it comes to the CAS, and I swear to God that the CAS is just one of those characters that has some sort of actual magical barrier around it that makes everyone around it just want to lie up a storm and make up some of the most whacked out and easily debunkable arguments of all time. And I mean it, the dumbest comments I've ever heard in the history of 20 years of debating have all come from CAS debates and those who inject infinite copium directly into their brain. The CAS only appeared one time in DC history, in 2008's Final Crisis, in a short 2-issue arc called Superman Beyond. What is the CAS? Well, if you're a toxic low-tier baby whiner, the CAS is just a regular robot owned by Perpetua and one-shot by Goku, or some crazy-ass nonsense like that. To anyone who actually reads the comic, you know, the other 4 people in the world, the CAS is the way the Overvoid personified all of existence. When the Overvoid wakes up, it's naive, stupid, and doesn't understand anything. It has no idea why this gross little smudge is there, and that smudge turns out to be literally existence itself, and everything that is not the Overvoid. Since the Overvoid doesn't understand anything, it doesn't see existence as a collection of worlds and realms. It personifies the existence as a suit of armor for a number of reasons. The first, because the author said existence and story are the same thing in this interview. The orrery of worlds, the multiverse, existence. Within it are infinite multiverses, and yes, it's wrong for them to have called it the multiverse when there's infinite multiverses in it. It's just a title. So the Overvoid only understands the basics, and the complex multiverse is annoying at best. So it personified the entire story of existence from the moment it was created to the very end. That's like you standing in the middle of the street with your helmet on because you like to play in traffic when you steal donations from little kids, and when you tighten your chin strap on your helmet, you just added some story elements to your life.
That sounds familiar.
You and your life, your very existence, has a story from start to finish. Imagine if an ultimate god split you and your entire story separately, and then personified the story of you, then placed your story right next to you because it likes that version of you more than actual you. I mean, I would. I mean, who likes people who use donation money to buy jewelry anyway? So the CAS represents the story of the entire flaw of existence from start to finish, the moment it came into existence to its very end. DC says in this series, existent is emergent, which means uncreated and not specifically designed. It just kind of winks into existence without a direct cause, and if you want more information on this, you want to go read the Kabbalah and try to understand the basics of the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sof Or of that religious view, because Superman Beyond is entirely based on that religious viewpoint. So DC says that this orrery includes every single canon of every story that ever will exist, and the ones that aren't written yet, that we don't know about. So long as existence exists, all the stories within it will be a part of this orrery, or the flaw, as the Overvoid and the monitors call it. This means that the CAS represents every single character, location, weapon, energy, villain, god, hero, revision of DC, every era of DC that isn't even written yet, any retcons, anything ever that will ever be, is defined as all the is. CAS is not a character. This is the biggest stupid problem with scalers out there who are emotionally harmed over the CAS being the personification of literally everything and everyone that will ever exist. And it gets so much worse, and it gets so much more intense when you read about Grant's statements that include plane time, cube time, and hyper time, which in this series, plane time is all of the fictional space. You see, in this series, and in the multiversity, Earth 8 is Marvel Comics, and Earth 41 is Image Spawn. Somewhere else is Archie. Somewhere else is every other fictional franchise in the Ori. As Grant states, these are meant to be the legit real thing and not copy universes. Cube time contains plane time. It's called Earth 33, and Grant says that logically no fictional character can go there. It's separated by a fictive membrane.
That is a superhero, that's what it looks like in our world. It's the closest they can get to reality, unless they go on the screen. Past, present, simultaneously. And so that's what Hypertime was. It was a kind of geometric vision that would incorporate the real world and the comic universe and allow every story that was ever told to be real, because they are real. You can go and pick them up. And whether the continuity contradicts or not, the stories remain real, and it was...
Beyond this is the bleed that contains both plane time and cube time. This is the collection of every possible anything that is, was, or ever can be in every variant of a multiverse that is possible or not possible. So the CAS is the embodiment of all of this and anything that will ever be. It's not a character. Anyone who says it's a character is lying to you and purposely trying to trick you. The CAS is just a personification from the Overvoid embodying all of existence. So I went to get some interviews and confirmed with numerous DC authors and content creators for what the CAS is, including Steve Orlando, who wrote The Unexpected and Milk Wars, who agrees the CAS is all story and Mandrake is no story, which mirrors the same thing Grant said Mandrake is, the lacking story factor, the zero factor, the delete key. So Captain Allen here merges with Limbo, the author's realm, which is beyond everything and everyone in DC Comics, according to the guide, and it's a shared space between every single franchise for continuity flow. Allen merges with this, then says, "Man, we're screwed. Superman's the only one that could save us now." So Superman and Ultraman's story are taken by Allen and ejected into the CAS, and then the fight for the right of existence to continue existing begins. The CAS walks past an empty grave before the fight. Disimportant. Don't forget this, okay? It's real important. During the fight, Mandrake launches an attack of 10 billion suns. Oh, great heavens! Which the worst scalers in the world think are real, normal suns, but the CAS is the embodiment of all suns plus everything else, and nil is a place that isn't a place. It's nothingness, beyond paradoxical and beyond conceptual, according to the guidebook, and beyond form and meaning that could ever apply to it. So 10 billion suns is a reference to the sun setting metaphorically on stories and ending them, which is what the CAS is. CAS is all story personified. So the only way you can harm story is to end the stories within. Mind you, that one drop of bleed is forged into Element X, and one marble-sized piece can reset the entire DC Comics structure. How many drops of bleed are there in 52 universes? Well, CAS tanked 52 sets of infinite bleed, one drop of which is multiversal reset capable. This is also explained on the official synopsis of the comic, and it's also all over Grant's book called Super Gods. So during the fight, the CAS and Mandrake have a transcending war. Think of it like an infinite conceptual Hulk rage that just gets stronger and stronger until it quite literally doesn't have any meaning anymore. Meanwhile, bad scalers think Perpetua and the Darkest Night are beyond this somehow, despite them losing energy in their fights and always being desperate for power sources. CAS and Mandrake don't need that. Both Perpetua and the Darkest Night are part of the CAS, as are everyone and everything else that will ever be written or that has ever been written, except the Overvoid. CAS pre-adapts to anything not the Overvoid because CAS is everything already. Whatever attack you're throwing, it comes from story. CAS is that story already. That's why he pre-adapts to anything before it's a threat. It has every defense there is, was, or ever can be. At the end of this, the CAS walks past the now sealed grave and powers down on top of it, etching into a tombstone of its own accord, to be continued. The gravestone was the gravestone of the cosmic armor. Superman was piloting the story of all existence, fighting non-existence in Mandrake. All future stories and eras are a blessing from the CAS, making sure that it won't ever stop and the story will continue without anyone or anything ever ending it. The CAS made sure stories will never cease. CAS is the most lied about thing in fictional history, and nothing even comes close. It upsets others that the CAS has infinite multiversal feats and is considered beyond form and meaning, beyond conceptual, has infinite transcending power demonstrated in combat. That's not speculation. It's not a character boast, and the pre-adaptive abilities are demonstrated. The context of the CAS includes more than just the fictional plane in context, which is where the other scalers lose their minds. It's not real. It's just comics. Nobody's saying it's real. But the context there is that a more meaningful thing is what Grant was trying to do, trying to get others to understand that fictional space shares our space too, and we can hold it in our hands. May the CAS bless you, and all the haters especially, because it doesn't matter what character you place or pit against the cosmic armor in a versus battle. The CAS contains all of those stories. And more funny than anything, the CAS is a reference to the source of everything being story itself. CAS is defined the same way as the source in DC is by Grant. All he is, the black and white, and so on. The hand poking limbo here, a reference to the hand of creation we see so often in DC. Each hand we see, a revision of it. Whether that be the Presence, Perpetua, Manhattan, Krona, or anyone else, are all extensions of the source of all things, extending itself into the fictive space of DC. That extension was the CAS, and will always be the CAS.